Greetings and welcome to episode 2 of You Had Me at Halo, where we talk about everything past, present, and future of one of gaming's most storied franchises. For today's topics, we're going to be talking about the current news of the week, where we're going to talk about the purchase of Bethesda and whether that means anything to 343 and Halo. Next, we're going to talk about the ODST release on PC. Then we will step back into the past and talk about our favorite and least favorite Halo. Finally, we will end with some community questions. First, let's meet today's Spartan team. Joining me today is Spartan Kage Maru, aka Mike. How's it going, Mike?
Hey, everyone. I'm really pumped to be here.
Next up, I'm going to introduce Spartan Soul Blazer.
Hey guys, finally episode 2. Those 2 weeks flew by, hopefully the second of many.
Next up, we have Spartan Jesse Don Cabeza.
Hey.
Finally, we have Spartan Austin.
Hello.
Damn.
What?
Magnetic.
Dang it.
Presence.
Finally, as your host today, I'm Spartan One Bad Mother. I'm hosting from my mom and dad's house, so forgive me if I sound like I'm talking up against the wall. I am. But first, I think we need to wake up Spartan Austin, and so you're going to get the first question of the day. And lucky you get the biggest news of the day. So, as we know, regardless of what your favorite franchises are on the Xbox, whether it's Halo or something else, I think everybody who games on Xbox is very well aware of the purchase of Bethesda. It's been the biggest news in gaming in many years on the Xbox side, maybe ever. Now, the question is, does this mean anything to 343 or Halo? Will it have any impact on the short or long term?
Sorry about that. I think that it's a good thing for 343 and Halo overall, because it kind of takes the pressure off of them. I think a lot of people were looking at Halo as like before this was like easily Microsoft's biggest IP, and it still might be, depending on what your feelings are. But I think this makes it so that it's not if Halo succeeds or fails, it doesn't really matter that much for Xbox because they have so many other Bethesda IPs to rely on. Because if you think about it, like the Elder Scrolls, Fallout, Doom, all those other games are huge franchises, arguably bigger than Halo right now. So I think it's a good thing overall for Halo.
All right, what about the rest of you? Kage, Mike, what do you think about this?
It's interesting because there's a lot of technical chops within its software specifically. So I'm wondering if now with them being part of the Xbox family, are they also going to be contributing to helping with whatever is going on with Halo Infinite? But like Proven said, it does take a lot of pressure. I think it does take some pressure off of 343. I mean, granted, I still think that in terms of if we're going to look at gaming landscape as a whole, yeah, you can argue that Elder Scrolls is larger than Halo, and that's because it's traditionally been on multiple platforms. But right now, if it's going to be exclusive on Xbox, then it should be. I think Halo is still the more important franchise, but that's only because it's more unknown. Like we kind of expect, we have expectations with Elder Scrolls, whereas when it comes to Infinite, they're rebooting the franchise. We don't know what to expect. It can be absolutely amazing, or it can be. I hate to be harsh, but another 343 Halo, and
So good.
so good. No, for good, no,
divisive, you could say.
But no, it could be good. But as we're going to discuss later, the previous Halo titles have gone far beyond good, and that is not to downplay anything the 343 has done, because they have taken up a mantle that has, no pun intended, that they were really big shoes to fill. But then at the same time, how many times have we all read it's a good shooter, it's a good game, but it's not a good Halo title? And I haven't always agreed to that, but I can definitely understand where that sentiment comes from. So, let's say, because I believe in our last podcast, we've discussed about how I think the majority of us believe that Halo is going to come out within the fiscal year, so at or before July. And then that also gives breathing room. So think about how amazing of a year 2021 can be, where in March or April or what have you, Halo Infinite comes out, and then the holiday big title is Starfield. And then of course we're going to have the other titles that we just don't know about spread throughout the year, because this year, Microsoft released 12 titles or something along those lines. And to think that they're not going to have at least 3 or 4 first-party titles for next year. I mean, next year's. It does speak about how, I guess, poorly they've communicated their future plans. Hopefully, we find out more before the launch of the Series X. But yeah, I think it does. It does, pull back some of that pressure from 343. Plus, the talent of that, just not only id Software, but just that that organization in general. From everything that we've heard of, when I did my interview with Adam Brasenki, or God, I'm going to butcher that last name. When I did the interview with the Grounded director, he talked about having an outing or discussions with people from Rare, other first-party developers. It really does seem like Microsoft has learned from the past, and they are letting their first-party studios feed on each other and grow support each other. So all of that talent, all of that skill coming in, it's hard to believe that it's not going to benefit Halo in some kind of way.
Yeah, those are some really good points. I do have a follow-up question, Bill, for you, Mike. How long have you been holding on to that pun?
And I have a comment for you. I hate you.
All right, Jesse, I'm going to let you go at this. What do you think? Do you agree with Proven and Mike so far, or do you got any other thoughts?
I have no thoughts. No, I'm kidding. The main thing I just keep seeing so many people in the gaming journalism industry constantly assuming that these things will still be on PlayStation, when that goes against the whole point of spending $7.5 billion. Fallout 76, Elder Scrolls Online, the 2 games that are contracted, Deathloop and Ghostwire, that'll probably be it. If they do, there's rumors they're doing the ZeniMax Online is doing a brand new AAA MMO. If that's a free-to-play one, something like that might go on PlayStation. But the big single-party stuff, no, they're a single-player first-party. They're not putting Hellblade 2 on PlayStation. Having those as an exclusive, this deal didn't happen quickly.
Yeah.
The delay of Halo was something that was able to happen because they knew this deal was happening or was likely to happen. I don't think this was something that happened within the last, month and a half. This is something that you talk about for years and years. Now, actually finalizing it might have started in the last 3 months or so. But yeah, this is a huge thing. Bye, Proven. This is a huge thing for, oh, hey, Proven, how you been? This is a big thing for being able to delay a game, being able to give Halo the time. Oh, Halo could have come out. It would have been bare bones multiplayer and not as good looking graphically as it should have been. Oh, we've got all these other things in our back pocket. We're going to be adding the whole back catalog of Bethesda onto Game Pass. We're going to be getting, Starfield exclusively, maybe the end of next year, with how their cadence normally goes. For announce something at E3, it releases this year. We have no freaking idea what Starfield is, so it's a huge thing. It's the Elder Scrolls developers' brand new, never before seen or talked about IP. So yeah, it's a huge help for 343 being allowed to have more time to really, hey, the first half of the year we'll focus on Halo now. I mean, the second half of the year we've got 22 other studios that are all going to have stuff to either talk about or release. Flight Simulator getting released, like all of these studios help Halo to be able to, they need more time. Things messed up, things pushed back by COVID. Yeah, it all helps. So I think it's good.
Yeah. I was going to jump in real quick and add, not to get too off topic from how it relates to 343, but I think a lot of the reason you see a lot of the gaming journalists kind of say that, it's going to end up on PlayStation, I think because not to be offensive, I feel like they're kind of viewing it as like a console war thing, not as like a big
I'm offended
Microsoft strategy. Yeah, I just think they think, okay, well, they're like, I've seen a lot of people, like I've seen it in comments, I've seen it from everywhere. They're like, well, how is Microsoft going to make the money back if they don't sell it on PlayStation? The thing is, I think people don't understand is Microsoft isn't trying to earn the money back in 5 years. This is a long-term play. So if by putting it on PlayStation or putting it on a non-Xbox platform, that isn't helping them at all. It's just driving people towards other platforms.
And there is this thing in the industry. It's been 25 years of this is what Sony does. They pay to keep things off of other systems. So they always see someone else doing it as, this is how Sony has led the way in the industry. So Microsoft must just be buying this to, they can't be doing what Sony always does. It's like, no, they bought this to bolster their first party because getting people into Game Pass is more important than getting a cut of a $70 sale on a very small install base for a next-gen system.
Well, yeah, to build on what Jesse was talking about, and also Austin, or Proven. So there's a few so there's a few key points there. So one, I originally, just because of the case by case basis, I did originally think there was a chance that maybe Elder Scrolls 6, I think they're up to, would possibly be on the PlayStation. But the more I thought about it, the more that doesn't make sense, because all of their comments about any controller, any screen, the way you want. I mean, we all know that Game Pass is their focus. Granted, yes, they do have console, they do have PC, but it's all joined by Game Pass. Game Pass recently launched on Android. And the install base for Android compared to any console, especially a next-gen console right now, is monumental. So when you talk about any screen, any controller, you can connect a PlayStation controller to your Android phone and play on xCloud. So all of that can be understood and seen in different ways. So, and especially when we come up to a new generation, that new generation, the playing field is essentially reset. There is no PS5s. There is no Xbox Series X's, but there's a crap ton of Android phones. And they can easily push for Game Pass Ultimate subscriptions to replace whatever install base they would miss out on by a PS5 version. And on top of that, what Proven was talking about, it's so when oh god, I completely just lost my thought right now. So
you know what? Let's see if Soul can catch it. I haven't heard from you yet.
I don't know too much about Bethesda's IPs and their studios, but I do agree with pretty much everyone here regarding it's a little less pressure for 343 for the most part. At the same time, you could kind of say it's more pressure in the stupid sense of I've seen some people be like, give ID Games Halo, or give another of their studios Halo now, which is a very dumb idea, but I've seen it spoken here and there.
Yep.
It's just people who don't know how game dev works.
Yep.
They built an entire new. Let's have an ODST on. I think it was a Rand on Xbox 2 today. It was like, they could do an ODST 2 on the id Tech engine. It's like, no, they built the slip space engine for Halo games.
They're not going to invest all that time in slip space just to dump it and use another engine. I remember the thought I was talking about earlier. So the key factor Sorry, do you want? I could just shut up.
No, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding.
No.
Keep going.
You get this one last one.
Okay. So the key point of their press release was that they paid cash. Okay. That cash was sitting off of some interest account. That means that let's exaggerate and say that interest account for that in that account was 20% interest. They were getting 20% interest. As long as they're making more than 20% of 7.5 billion over the next year, they already made more money than just letting that money sit in an account. It's not going to take much, and it's certainly not going to take supporting a competing platform to make the company more money than that money sitting in an account doing absolutely nothing.
And they added 5 million to Game Pass in 6 months, and Halo is going to be a mix. Halo is going to hit both the Game Pass end of things with helping add on to that, which will have more people to play Halo, because people who love Bethesda games are going to be like, even if it's just my computer, or even if I'm just doing it on my phone to see how that works, hey, it actually works pretty well. I'm close to a data center. Then they've got the free-to-play option for the multiplayer too. It's like these are all factors on getting them into the ecosystem. You don't get people into the ecosystem on a different console platform.
It doesn't make sense to release these games on a platform that doesn't have Game Pass.
I agree. I think I'm going to go ahead and try to tidy this up, because I know we got a few other subjects to get to. But I think you guys really touched on all the main points. And Jesse, to your point, this gives Craig some time to get a face job that he probably wouldn't have gotten if there wasn't anything else in the pipeline, right? Like, he's in the past, we know that Microsoft has had release dates and that they've had to stick with them, right? Because they haven't had a lot of other things in the pipeline, a lot of other backup, and I think this will give some breathing room to 343. But one other thing, and I don't know that this has really got mentioned a whole lot, is one of the things that I thought of immediately when I heard about this as it pertained to Halo, and we were kind of coming into this podcast, was I thought about Mario and Nintendo, and you think about that franchise over the years, and they play around with the franchise a little bit, but at its core, it's always really been very much a similar game, right? Since it's gone 3D, it hasn't really changed too much, and it still sells a lot, and people still buy Nintendos because Mario's there and it feels like Mario. And I think what this does, 343 has been in a weird space for really since they've taken over the franchise. It's like, hey, we need you guys to advance this so that we can go get back some of the other people that have gone over to Call of Duty, but we still need you to keep all the old Halo fans. And I think they've been stuck in this this middle ground that you're never going to be able to make everybody happy, right? And now I think that they don't have to. They can step back and look at what they want it to be, and I think they can stay now towards the basics and say, hey, we really would just want to lean into the classic Halo. And I think what one of you guys were saying, they're going to stay in the slip space engine. And I think the reason, as I love Rand and Jazz, but I think to that point, I don't see that being a viable solution. The reason they stayed, they worked off the bland and tried to iterate on that is they want it to feel like Halo, and they should, and they don't need to now try to make it something else. They can rely on the id team, machine games and things like that. So yeah, I think that pretty much covers it.
I'm sorry.
And you guys are distracting me now. Does anybody else have anything else they want to add into that before we go ahead and talk about the ODST?
Nope.
Now? All right.
Yes.
Let's go. Let's go
I mean, oh, shit.
into.
I meant no.
All right, so we're going to go ahead and talk about ODST. It just came out to PC release this week. It's in, ODST's probably been one of those franchises that, or one of the Halos that gets talked about the least. But here's an opportunity. So I'm going to go ahead and put this out there. Who wants to be the first one to jump on this one?
Me. No, I'm just kidding.
All
Someone else
right,
can do it.
Go ahead, Jesse. You spoke up. You
Okay.
raised your hand.
Yeah, ODST is a solid game. It's got some sketchy voice acting at times, even though they're, well-known actors for the most part. Dutch freaking Baldwin. Oh, God. I can't take it. Hey, I'm Dutch. But overall, solid campaign. It was good. A good standalone expansion, which would be cool to see again in the future. But the highlight for me, outside of it being like freaking $5 on PC, the highlight is I always loved ODST Firefight, which we need to stream sometime.
Yes.
Or I found it better balanced. Reach is fun, but I always like the balance of the ODST Firefight more.
Reach was like, I don't know, it was too easy, or it had too many modes. It was like the diluted version of it, if that makes sense. And
It doesn't, but go ahead.
But when it comes to ODST almost always seemed like the greatest hits of Halo campaign missions or levels, because you have your open world, which is hardly really an open world. It's like the same half map duplicated by Proven. And
to the other room.
But hi, Proven. Welcome back. So, but every mission of ODST is absolutely solid. And I had my doubts when it went from an expansion or a DLC for Halo 3 to a full-fledged game because Microsoft just wanted extra money. But excuse me. But no, I absolutely enjoyed it. I loved it. Nathan Fillion, I'm a huge fan. I'm a huge fan of the entire crew from Firefly. So I'm probably biased there. But yeah, really solid game and definitely worth the lunch money that you can pay for it now. It's kind of disgusting thinking about it that way.
Yeah. For me, ODST, like, I remember being super excited for it because I remember Firefight, because around that time, that's when Gears of War 2 had the Horde mode, and then Firefight also. So like that was kind of the right around when like the wave-based combat modes for multiplayer was coming out, and I remember like literally just buying the game just for Firefight and also the maps. Like I didn't really care about the campaign at the time. But then I played through the campaign and I realized like how great it was. So
But Firefight was the first Horde type game, wasn't it?
No, Horde mode came first.
Hence the term horde-like.
Yeah, Horde came in Gears of War 2.
All right. Thank you. I'm glad I didn't make that my point of it. All right. So, Sol, what do you think?
So I see you guys are flinging a lot of praise at ODST, and I like it.
I was tempered.
I mean, I'm gonna bring it back up again a few questions from now. But in general, I played ODST for the first time with the MCC. With the Halo 3 release, I don't think I ever purchased it. I mean, it was hard enough to get my dad to buy anything at the time. But when I played it alone, ODST, I had a lot of fun. I love the atmosphere. I collected every single one of those terminals. I got the overarching story, and it was great. I played it again on Legendary with three other people. We actually finished the entire game in one night and got the achievement. We didn't even realize there was one. It was great. It was fun, but at the same time, when you're not taking your time or when you don't have to go through like the survival aspect in the open world area, because that was the coolest part, or one of the coolest parts of ODST was how vulnerable you are. So you're in the open area and you have to move smart. Even at a lower difficulty, even at heroic, you have to move smart or you're going to get destroyed. With 3 people, even on legendary, we just kind of blasted through the whole thing, and it wasn't nearly as fun as I remember it. Like Don said, the voice acting was kind of terrible at times. The levels, while great, did feel a little disjointed to me. But overall, it's still a good game. But probably my least favorite Halo game.
So here's a question, and I think this might relate a little bit to Infinite, because we've heard about, I don't know what that sound was. We've heard about Infinite having a 10-year platform, right? And you would think with being a 10-year platform that you're going to probably have ODST types of DLC on a yearly or bi-yearly basis. So thinking of that, does anybody have any opinions? Like, do you think there's some things they can take away from ODST in terms of things that worked out because it was a smaller type of release, maybe less hype and pressure on it, or is there some opportunities there that they really need to avoid the next time?
I would say less ODST, more Destiny, in the way Destiny has struggled to add content. That for a 10-year plan on adding content, and I think their engine and the lighting on their engine not having to take forever to render, it just is going to lead to faster iteration on getting new things, because even if they're not the most in-depth pieces of content, if they're very different, if they're not the same places over and over again, or the same enemy, just a different variety, if you can iterate on that content, and you can get a smaller story, say something that's half of ODST out a few times a year, along with, the more live service public event and, going through different areas, strike type stuff, then I think that would be a good way to go with the future of the platform. Less, got to wait a long time, beat it in a night expansions, and more, we can just keep adding stuff to this because we have set up this engine in a way that we can pump out unique content that's a mix of multiplayer and co-op and story stuff.
I'm going to step in and completely disagree. I do not want, and I'm not trying to speak for the Halo community at large, but I don't want Halo to turn into Destiny. And I think what now?
Go to heck. One more thing. Let me just say, I don't mean never have big expansions or big content and add-ons. I just mean for, to keep it going more often in between big content and expansions, have,
like a steady flow of content, even if it's small.
Yeah, a steady flow, and you are building up too much bigger things outside of, just you're building to things outside of those big expansions.
But with that, you run the risk of not having proper resolutions for the story arcs that are put in place. And the gameplay that bridges the gap between these, let's say, story campaigns or story expansions should be the multiplayer. At least in my old school, old mind, that's the way that it should be. And I don't know. Well, whether it's not even the co-op, I'm talking about oh God, I'm talking about strictly multiplayer. I mean, Halo's longevity lived on the competitive multiplayer and the cooperative multiplayer. I mean, Halo has, for better or worse, is one of those franchises where you got your co-op fans, you have your competitive multiplayer fans, you got you have your fans that love Forge, you have your fans that love theater mode. It needs to go back to that.
I mean,
I don't know any long-term Halo fan or old school Halo fan that really thought positively when they heard the whole 10-year plan. And I'm not saying hold on.
I want you to meet somebody new.
Hold on. Now, granted, some of that might be, I don't want to say short-sighted, but they may not be grasping what that can and cannot mean in the end.
It gives you Destiny vibes, right? And not in a good way.
Well, yeah, but that's exactly it. Like, I think it's saying something to say. I think it's saying a lot to assume that your game is going to last 10 years because technology moves so, like, even if that was their plan, I don't think they should have just announced that. And I love the transparency. I don't fault them for the transparency. And I don't see that as a negative thing like I originally did. But I just initially, that's not something I think a lot of people want to hear because, they could have Destiny's or they could have ODST style. I hate you. They could have ODS style, expansions, story expansions. That would be awesome. That they need to have that. If they're going to have a 10-year plan for this game, they need to have ODS style expansions, not Destiny style expansions, because Destiny style expansions could be completed in an afternoon, but they're prolonged through their grinding. They're prolonged through their looting.
They're designed to be.
I'm sorry?
Yeah, you're saying like they're designed to just take a while, right?
Yeah. I mean, they're designed as like slot machine type, loot based. I mean, I don't want Halo to be a loot based shooter.
I think what Jesse was saying though was that you're gonna get the multiplayer expansions, the maps, the game modes. That should be like without even being said. You know what I mean? Any kind of expansion onto the single player should be after multiplayer expansions. I think what Jesse was trying to say was like, say you have Spartan Ops, small content in between larger content like ODST expansions. At least that's what I thought he was trying to say.
You know what? That would be cool. That would be a good balance between the two. As long as it doesn't dilute. See, Spartan Ops to me,
it didn't have a resolution, right? It was resolved in one cutscene in Halo 5. Like what?
It didn't have resolution and it wasn't fully fleshed out. As long as that's not the case with Halo Infinite. See, with Halo Infinite, as long as they're able to update the graphics, like eventually they're going to drop Xbox One.
100%, yeah.
Yeah.
That's not a spoiler or anything or a mic drop. Like they're going to drop the Xbox One eventually, just like they did with Destiny and the 360. And what now?
So are you an insider?
We are all insiders. Yes, thank you.
Yes, in our own hearts and minds. But they're gonna drop the current gen. They're gonna be able to have, as long as they're able to have iterations and updates to the graphics, as long as they're able to add on expansions, even if we go beyond ODST. Look at what CD Projekt Red did with Witcher 3. That had 2 monstrous expansions. The second expansion for Witcher 3 is 40 hours alone. And I'm not saying that I want a 40-hour expansion for
80 hours.
Yes, that's exactly what I want.
But yeah, if they're saying 10 years, I want to be able to play for tens of hours over the course of the 10 years. That's not much to ask.
But that's the thing. And if Halo Infinite is expected to last 10 years, then I expect at least 2 additional major story expansions.
Better be more than 2.
Well, no. Listen to me now, though. Like, hear me out. Like, you have I'm putting you on ignore, but no. So you have your initial story for Infinite.
Yeah.
And that's going to be what, 10 to 15 hours or what have you. But then if you look at a traditional Halo model where every Halo gets released every 3 to 4 years, within 10 years, you would have 3 traditional stories. That's where I'm coming from.
Oh, so you're saying like a Halo game-sized expansion.
Yeah. So you have your initial Halo story with Halo Infinite, and then another 3 years, you have your large story expansion. Then another 3 years from that, you have your other story. Like, I want if you're not going to have proper sequels, I want sequel-sized expansions within the Infinite universe. Otherwise, I don't want this continuous flow of small bite-sized story elements. I don't want that. I don't.
What about both?
I think what you're saying basically.
If you can have both, that's more. That's awesome. I'm happy to take that. I'm just saying that if they're going to commit to one game for 10 years, they need to have larger expansions on the size of ODST or CD Projekt Red's expansions. They need to have something more meaty than bite-sized story expansions, is my point.
If I can jump in real quick, I think what they're probably planning to do, if I'm reading what they're saying right, is basically they're gonna have this engine for 10 years. Like they're not planning to, but like they're basically planning to use this engine and then keep updating it. Like once they drop the Xbox One, then that's gonna be probably a massive improvement because they're not gonna be using that Xbox One and Xbox One X or whatever anymore. So I think what they're gonna do is they're gonna give us the small updates, like some small content, but maybe every 2 to 3 years they'll give us like an actual a sizable product.
Yeah, they had said that the next 10 years will be under the Infinite umbrella. So,
Yeah,
it is the platform that will get stuff added to it. One Bad Mother, what do you have to say?
Thanks. So Mike, I think the good news is that your insider prediction probably is better than Nick's Elden Ring one. But moving on to our topic, so you said that you didn't know anybody that was excited about that. So obviously we need to get you out a little bit more. But then I want to let you know. Yeah, maybe just say hi to me
initially.
That's what I think.
I think that's a threat in the age of COVID. We got to get you out a little more. I don't know.
I just mean initially. Initially,
right.
I don't think anyone was really that. Didn't really hype anyone up. When you put thought behind with possibilities and the options that provides, yeah, but that's only dependent on what they do with that 10-year plan.
Well, see, that's kind of where my mind is at. When I heard about this, I actually got excited, and the reason why I wanted to tie this into the ODST is because that's like the first thing that came to mind, and it's not that I want 10 versions of ODST, but what that game was, what it signified at the time, is it was like taking a chance, it was doing something a little bit different. Obviously, you're out in the night city, and it's night the whole time. You got a little bit different kind of tone and music to it. And you could tell they're experimenting a little bit with that, and I think that's what made it exciting. I just went back and played it on Legendary for the first time I ever did it on Legendary here. By the way, that last tank portion is horrible on Legendary, but other than that, it was a really good game. And one of the things I think about is for me, Halo's always been more about the gameplay. I'm probably more of a gameplay than a lore guy. I don't really go through all the books and stuff. And so, but when I think about how it holds up over time, I've been going through all the classics, and they still hold up today. And I think like if you had even Halo CE or any of these, if you just remixed levels, you had mods and remix for the enemies and the levels and the sandboxes, how they were rearranged, you could probably make that thing be fun forever. And I just think that this is going to give them an opportunity. I think they're going to start off here, try to get back to appealing to the classic, the base, with the classic sort of themed and tone with Halo. But what this will do over 10 years will give them a chance to take some chances, and it's not going to be a huge risk. So if one year you want to throw out something that's a little bit weird, give Master Chief some other gadgets to play with, or maybe tell a story from one of the other Spartans' points of view. You can do some weird things and take some chances, and maybe see if anything else clicks. If it doesn't, you don't lose much, right? Because you still have the full campaign, and you still have the full multiplayer going on. But I also think that part of what we've heard is they've been trying to make this engine malleable, and that's really. Everybody kept talking about graphics, but I really think that was the main selling point of them redoing the engine and calling it Slip Space is that it was going to be a lot easier to work with, and it was going to allow them to to do more remixing and just building things for gameplay. So like in ODST, when I play that, they have some really neat sandbox moments throughout it. Like I didn't love everything. Like I think sometimes you run into the city, it gets a little bit. I noticed after the first time it gets a little bit slow, but but some of the areas were really really fun. Just kind of had different like environments and different ways you approach situations that maybe you didn't get to in some of the other ones. So overall, I'm excited. I think it offers opportunity. I do get jealous that Destiny players get like to look forward to stuff more often. And as a Halo person, it's been 5 years, so I think that's pretty cool. Not having to wait for a full sequel. And I think it gives them some flexibility. Maybe they take 2 years and throw in something big, and then maybe a year later they throw together some little experimental thing. So, so that's my. Oh, go ahead.
Just one short thing, because I know we want to get on to the next topic. My one thing for a continuous reason to keep playing outside of multiplayer or replaying a campaign is I do hope there is some form of co-op mode. And I know the word's dirty, but if it's schlutery or RPG-y outside of being Master Chief and having story stuff with him that gets added on, if it's like its own, there's also this, surprise co-op mode that is a thing for you to keep playing with friends that doesn't take away from the campaign or the multiplayer. It's something that keeps you going as well. That would be fun.
I thought
Right.
I thought it was already confirmed to be 4-player co-op. No,
I mean a mode outside, like after campaign's done. Like after you've beaten the campaign, something you would have to keep playing as a group of friends. A Destiny-ish type of co-op mode is what I was hoping for. See, not replacing the campaign, not having the campaign be I got to level up during this campaign and find guns during this campaign. Halo-ass Halo campaign, extra co-op mode. That's my hope.
Yeah.
But that's it. I'm done.
Yeah, and I think to your point, so it gives them that space now, right? Because you don't feel like when you wait for a game to come out every 3 years or every 5 years, whatever it may be, you really, if that doesn't hit what your expectations are, it's like, okay, it's like it's a big part of your life. You're waiting for that thing. So this just gives them a chance, and they got so many. They got all these people working on it now, and I'm assuming that they can now continue to do that. 343 can have a team working on a Destiny-ish type of add-on, and then you can have additional campaigns, and so like I think that rather than them focusing on okay, now we're putting out a new engine, we got to remix the sandbox, or you can just kind of do that on the fly. And maybe spend less time worrying about trying to make it be more wowed, by like a giant jump in graphics and things like that. I kind of like the iterative approach, and if nothing else, it's something they can always pivot from, right? Like you can always say after 5 years, if this isn't going right, you can always try something else. But I think it's gonna allow the franchise to now it can actually appeal to both old and new. But that's all I got on that. Anybody else want to add anything? If not, I think we're going to try to move on. We are running.
I think we're good.
Yeah. All right. Cool. So, this week we're going to go ahead and our step back into the past this week is going to be a really basic question. We're going to focus on our favorite Halo and our least favorite. So I want to go ahead and just start with positive. Because why not end on a down note? So we're going to go ahead and talk about our favorite Halo. Who wants to go first on that one?
Me, Austin. I'll go.
All right.
I wasn't gonna. I could.
All right, go ahead, then.
Halo 3 is my favorite. It's probably because that's like the first one that I spent a lot of time with. I started with Halo 1 and 2, but I wasn't super like hardcore into it.
Boom, sweet and to the point.
Yeah, that's that.
That'll help us stay on track. Thanks, Alex.
Expand.
My bad.
All right.
Okay. No. I was gonna add something else. My bad. My mic cut off. Halo 3 hit me at the right age.
Mike, I think you're having some mic issues.
It hit him at the right
Austin.
A.
Are you, did you turn Canadian all of a sudden?
Yeah.
Hey?
Someone else go. Let me fix this.
I'll pick up because I kind of have the same answer, I think, and for the same reason. I was a big Halo fan from 1 and 2, but it wasn't until 3 that 3 came out when I was just entering high school or finishing up middle school, you'd say. And
oh my god.
Yeah. How's that feel? Also, I don't know, there's something about Halo 3. It's definitely, if someone had to point a gun to my head and say, what's your favorite Halo? Halo 3 is the immediate answer. There's no...
You can't see me, but I'm actually doing that to you right now.
there's no second thought.
Actually, if somebody points a gun to you, that should not be your first.
Well, if they ask me, right?
Well, I mean, if they got a gun to his head, it's their prerogative to ask what they want, right?
I guess. All right, keep going. Keep going.
But
Try to get out of this.
Halo 3 is my easy answer. It's a phenomenal game. It has what I thought was one of the best parts of Halo, which is the runs at the end, which I only recently figured out some people don't like, which blows my mind.
Wait, what?
Yeah, I was on the Discord and people are like, I don't like those runs.
They're bad at it. Yeah, that's
That's what I'm thinking too, right?
Boo them.
But Halo 3 has the phenomenal run at the end. I think every single time I beat Halo 3, I always tear up a little with the credits, the way the music hits, the way the text hits. I was like 12 when I first played it, okay?
That final booty shot of Cortana.
Oh my god.
But Halo 3 is the easy answer, but I also, to spice things up a little bit, I'd say the game I had most fun playing in my recent playthrough of the entire series with friends was Halo 5. And I can talk about that a lot. I'm not going to. But I am going to say when it came to the sheer amount of fun I had, the most enjoyment I had playing a Halo campaign, for now, it's actually kind of on Halo 5. That's my pick.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Austin is
That's provocative.
Blow me off
His
now.
head is he's just beat red.
Who wants to follow that?
Yeah, I'll pick up.
I would
where
love
left
to.
off.
Go ahead.
Real quick. Yeah, I was gonna say, I think Halo 3 is probably more of a nostalgia thing, but like, I can still go back and play it, and I feel the same way as I did when it first came out. There's not many other games I could play that are 13 years old that still hold up. And there's some things that are like bad about it, like the netcode isn't that great, the bullet registration is a little off.
Yeah.
But like if I go back and play a game from 2007, like I feel its age, but when I go back and play Halo 3, like it still feels just as good as it did when it launched. So yeah, like Halo 3 is my favorite game of all time. Basically, all the Halos are like they're all like kind of lumped in there, but Halo 3 specifically is my favorite.
Except 5.
I don't hate 5. I mean, I have problems, but you know.
The unfinished story
That'd be
is
the
the bigger
next
problem.
Yeah. How about you, Mike? What's your favorite one?
Typically it's a toss-up between Halo 1 CE and Halo 3, but I got to go with Halo 3 because when you look at everything, one, I know that Halo 3 isn't the favorite for people that heavily dive into the multiplayer, but I don't heavily dive into the multiplayer, even though it's ironic because the ranking system in Halo 3, from what I understand, to this day is still some of the best out there.
Yeah.
And on top of that, you look at the campaign. Like I'm primarily a co-op person. You look at the campaign. The campaign has an amazing amount of variety in terms of the different levels, the level design, the enemy AI, the enemy placement. I mean, the campaign itself is just so expertly crafted and amazingly put out. Like, granted, yes, when it comes to writing, I have my issues with some plot holes in Halo 3. But when it comes to actual campaign, I absolutely love it. Co-op, 4-player co-op, absolutely love it. It's the first game in the series to have photo mode. Absolutely amazing. Forge mode, absolutely amazing. I got to go with Halo 3. It's when I got Halo 3, we went there me and a handful of friends went there on a midnight launch, and we all had a LAN party where we had 2 sets of people, so 8 people, each grouping up in the sets of 4 to first play through the campaign in 4-player co-op in a LAN. And then after that, we did 8-player multiplayer.
Orgies. Oh, sorry.
Well, that too. But we did the multiplayer, and it might be nostalgia talking. It might be, just everything that I'm a fan of when it comes to co-op versus multiplayer. But I gotta lean on Halo.
You also
3.
had a new console, a new controller. The hype was all times high.
Well, it's weird. Like the controller was cool, the console was cool, but in terms of it's weird. Like technically, Halo 3 was both an accomplishment and a disappointment. Like I'm sure all of us remember the controversy surrounding the resolution of Halo 3.
Yeah, it was like 600 or 500 something.
It was 640p if I remember correctly. But at the same time, it didn't matter. The game was still gorgeous. It had its issues, but I was playing it at the LAN party on a monitor that was like 20 inches or something. So the jaggies weren't overblown. It still looked gorgeous. It played amazingly well. And there's a lot that they accomplish. There's a lot they do. Like they trade graphical fidelity for scope. And I'll argue that to this day. Like how many games in 2007 had the scope of Halo 3? I can't think of any.
Yeah, some of the levels were really big in that one.
Oh God, yeah.
I was really disappointed myself with the graphics because you came from Gears, and I was at that time being a Xbox 360 fanboy. Wanted those graphics to kind of beat the Killzone PS3 demo, right? And Gears did that, and we're expecting Halo to blow us away, and visually it didn't. But no, I agree with you on the it focused on, it prioritized the gameplay, and actually it's kind of interesting because we're going back to that again, right? Like where I'm a lot more concerned about how Halo plays going forward than how it looks, because the gameplay can hold up forever if it's done right. But I'll let you keep going.
That, and like nowadays, it's almost common for a game to look great.
Yep.
Like amazing looking games isn't so impressive as it was 10, 13 years ago, which that's 13 years today, Halo 3 launched. But, was I expecting it to look better than Killzone? No. But I do understand about how we all want Halo to be that graphical showpiece. Halo 1 was, Halo 2 was, Halo 3 kind of was. Like the HDR and the lighting was amazing. The texture work was absolutely amazing. It's just the resolution that dragged it all down. And
yeah,
but I don't remember. I'm trying to think of what that Halo level that where they were on the Ark. That's not the Ark level, because the Ark level was like desert. But what was that level after the Ark?
Halo?
Do any of you guys remember in Halo 3?
It's just the one that Halo 3 again. I don't know what you're.
It's the one that you drop down and you have the Spartan laser with you.
Halo, I'm pretty sure.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I'm talking about? Like anybody that's played through the series, they know.
No, you're talking about the last level, I believe, aren't you?
No, that's not the last level.
Second or third to last.
Yeah, that's like third to last. But that right there, that singular level encompasses everything that's amazing about the Halo franchise. You have your ground warfare, you have your vehicular warfare, you have your massive scopes with like dozens of enemies. I mean, that you have that in like Salvo Highway is another amazing level.
Yep, it's a great level.
It just, there's so many memorable experiences in Halo 3. There's the not Salvo Highway. What was the one? The first time you meet a Scarab. Like I just remember it's coming over the building, and you think Scarab and you think Halo 2 at this point, but then you have this thing coming over you, and you got all the other not ODSTs, but you have your other UNSC Marines on their mongooses with their rocket like. The whole campaign is just expertly crafted, and I can go on for hours, so I'm just going to shut up.
But that is true. You could definitely. I would never bet against that. Oh yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to add real quick. I think the thing about Halo 3 I think it's more of a case of art style and art direction over like graphical fidelity and textures. Like yeah, the
Yeah.
game was what
Yeah.
650p or whatever it was. But like to this day, if I go load it up at 4K, like the lighting is beautiful, especially on the first level. Like it looks
Yeah.
incredible. Like the art style to this game, like I still go play that game. I'm like, wow, this game like honestly looks better than most shooters today. Like I'm not just saying that as a nostalgia. Like the art style held up so well, and I think it's just a testament to what they were able to do with like what the technology they had at the time.
That's what I'm saying. Like the game was a graphical showpiece. It's just they were almost trying to do so much that they had to lower the resolution that it just dragged everything else down.
To be honest,
So-
this is
so
the
yeah.
sorry, yeah.
Go ahead.
This is the first time, and this is gonna make me sound like not like a Halo fan, I guess. This is the first time I'm hearing about the graphical issues with Halo 3. At the time, I just went to a friend's place who had a 360 and played it, and I had no idea there was this controversy.
Well, let's put it this way: the whole pixel counting thing that started with Halo 3.
That's crazy. And what's even crazier to me is our answers here, and even this graphical thing, sound eerily similar to Halo Infinite right now.
Yeah, it does. That's why I'm not as worried about it as a lot of people. But I do want to ask Jesse. I know we've been kind of going around and kind of cutting you out, Jesse. What about you, man? What's your favorite one?
Halo 4.
Wait, campaign
I've
multiplayer?
literally I've replayed every single one of them. God, I did the Halo the Master Chief Saga playlist, the cross game playlist on MCC. That's all 46 levels of Halo 1 through 4. Then after that, I played 5, and going through them, Halo 1 solid, mostly nostalgia from having played it. No joking, probably 90 times with my brother in co-op. Halo 2. The anniversary edition makes it look so much better. It's almost unfair. But even gameplay wise, it's annoyingly hard. You are so easy to kill in that one that it can be frustrating. Halo 3, very fun. I agree. Halo 5, the best gameplay, but the most incomplete story. So it pulls it down in that way. If it came to just strictly playing a Halo campaign with people in co-op, I'd choose 5 every time. But for the overall, my favorite campaign, which was always my focus more than anything, campaign and firefight if it had it. Having read the stories is a big thing. Knowing the reasons why the didact is how he is, what the librarian had actually done, all that adds to it. But even without it, the overall flow of that campaign is my favorite. There was no point I ever felt it slowed down too much, or it had massive plot holes, or there was bad voice acting. It was the best. And 5 kept it up. There was worse writing, but still very good acting in 5.
Like good production quality.
The writing in 4 was very good, outside of Lasky being a friggin' nerd. Even like the over-the-top, a-hole Captain Del Rio, like that acting in that, the work that was put into that cinematic where it wasn't CG, like super blurred up CG like they did in 5. That was gorgeous. But man, yeah, that campaign hits me the hardest and is the one I enjoy going back through the most. Even though the Prometheans were worse to fight, I'm a little more accurate now with the Elite controller, so killing the dogs on the walls isn't as unbelievably frustrating, and the Knights go down like nothing if you have the right weapons. So yeah, I would definitely go for.
That's interesting. I actually have a friend I play online with that has a similar opinion, and I always thought that he was like the only person. So it's good that now I know he's not. But no, that's interesting. I think like what you were saying is because of the story and the lore and things like that, and that's again that's something that I've never really got into. Even though Halo is my favorite franchise of all time, it's always I'm more of a gameplay over.
Forerunner trilogy is so good, man. If you have a library you're joined up near you, then they're part of the Libby app. You can rent pretty much every book or audiobook, which I've done. Every single Halo one is on there, and I've been going through all of them. And I love the older ones, Fall of Reach, all those. They're all great. But the Forerunner trilogy, I think, is probably the best written one and it's really good.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, for myself, because I've always been the opposite. I'm like one of those guys that I'll sit through the cutscenes the first time maybe, and then I really just like to get to the game. But I will take kind of step back on that because my favorite, maybe this is just because I'm old, but Halo 1 for me, or Halo CE for me, is still the top of the line, and I think there is some nostalgia part of that. When I think back at like some of the moments in gaming that I remember, um, thinking about the first time you land on Halo, or the first time you see the silent photographer, like there wasn't anything doing that at the time. It was like jaw dropping moment after jaw dropping moment. But it wasn't just that. I hardly ever used to beat games at that time. I just had whatever ADD. I just bounced from game to game, and occasionally I beat a game once, but I never went back. That was a game that I went back and beat multiple times, and I kept turning up the difficulty. And every time I kept turning up the difficulty, I just found out more about the sandbox and just kind of how things balance. And I still think, I've gone back recently and been trying to go through all of the Halos on Legendary. First time that I usually beat them, it's heroic, and I hadn't hit all of them on Legendary. But I noticed that one still holds up the best in terms of balance. Like, I just feel like there's the least cheap parts, even in the library. When I was comparing that to that second to last level on Halo 3 where you're fighting the Flood, the library is boring to look at, but it's fun to just take a shotgun and feel like you're in Starship Troopers and
it's the Doom level. It's the Doom level of Halo.
Yeah, no, and it's like this perfect pacing. It's like 1 minute you're in the hallways of the ship at the beginning, and then you're in this open, you're on this open ring, and you're like, what the heck? It's like such a jarring.
Oh, you mean the game? I thought you were talking about the library level specifically, and I'm like, I don't think anyone's ever called that.
Yeah, that'd be the worst.
No, the game. But yeah, what I'm talking about is the change of pace. Like, you start like level 1 is it's like a corridor shooter, and then level 2 you're like in this open, like serene fields, and you just like a ship go over you, and then then you have these like really crazy, these crazy battles that you never seen on a console or even PC at the time. I came from the PC. Never saw those, and then you get into that library, and yet you're right. Like, that's a good comparison, like a Doom level. And if you're trying to beat it on harder difficulty, you have to make sure you have shotgun ammo. And you're just they're always in your face.
I don't think CE can ever be the wrong answer ever.
Yeah, CE is just amazing.
I could probably, and this again goes back to our last question. It's like, if the balancing and the sandbox is right, give me like the Halo version of Mario Maker and just send me just different remixes of these like different sandbox situations. And I think CE does it perfectly for them having such limited time and reusing assets. It is, there's how many games hold up 20 years like that? And I just think that was such an accomplishment, not just for its time, but it's still today. I feel like that's a game you could pick up every year and go, yeah, this is still fun. Try to get a little bit better at getting through some of those.
Very few things have aged badly in CE, if any.
Yeah, and yeah, there's some intense moments there, but what's neat is like when you kind of figure out, you get a little bit better, you get a little bit more efficient every time you play that, and like, all right, now I know, you learn how to plant grenades better, and things like that. So yeah, CE definitely for me is number one. But I am going to try to move this on because we are, I think, running. Do we think we got time to go through our least favorite, or do we want to save that for next?
I think
show?
we do. You just keep it a little short, but
yeah. We'll do it quick.
All right, we'll just make it short on the negativity. Who wants?
That's what I normally
let's start
say
with you, Proven. Let's go ahead and
Proving
start
go.
with you.
That way we can all adjust from there.
Okay. Well, I honestly, it's between. Okay, so I don't hate any Halo. I love all the Halo games. Like even Halo 5, where like I think the campaign, the story in 5.
Bullshit.
Okay, yeah. I'm trying to be nice. Okay. So for Halo 5, I think the story in Halo 5, like, it pains me when I go through it. I just don't like it. But it's one of those things where it's like the campaign of Halo 5 I don't like, and the multiplayer of Halo 4 I don't like. but I like the multiplayer of Halo 5 for the most part. I like the story of Halo 4 actually a lot. But if I had to pick one, it would have to be Halo 4, just only for the multiplayer. Like if I'm just ignoring the campaign, because I think the campaign in Halo 4 is really good. I just think the multiplayer in Halo 4 was just such a disappointment and such a step in the wrong direction that it almost killed my like love for the franchise. Like after Halo 4, I basically didn't care about Halo anymore. I didn't even anticipate Halo 5 at all. Like I bought it because it was Halo, but it was one of those things where like after Halo 4, I was like I just don't know if they're ever going to be able to make a Halo multiplayer I like again. So that was it has to be Halo 4, even though I could argue that Halo 5's campaign is worse for me, but I'm just gonna have to go with Halo 4.
All right, good answer. How about you, Jesse? What's your least favorite?
ODST.
All right, why is that?
It's not a bad game, but out of all of them, it's the one I go back to play the least. It's just, it's a subjective thing anyways, but on the whole, the approach with the empty, pointless open world, that was different. The nice music, the great voice acting from Nathan Fillion and no one else, and it had good sandboxes, but as a whole package, it's the one I go back to the least. And for a Halo game to be an 8 out of 10 and be the worst, that's why I'm doing a Halo podcast, because goddamn Halo's good.
I think that's a good answer. Anybody else agree with either one of those ones? Or ODST wants to go on that. How about you, Sol?
I mean, yeah, technically, ODST is my least favorite Halo. But I might get some flack for this.
What's wrong with you people?
But it's not. So, no problem. It's not a mainline Halo. You know what I mean?
Say 3.
So when someone asks me what's my favorite Halo, I don't even put ODST in the equation. It's a standalone expansion. It is what it is. For the least favorite Halo, I don't know. It's initially, like if I judge my initial reactions of the campaign, then it has to be Halo Reach, and that's not really true though. Initially, when I played Halo Reach back in 2010, I was just I still am. I'm big into the books, the lore, etc. And I'm sure everyone knows at this point, Halo Reach did change a lot of things.
Damn retcons.
A lot of retcons, and not good ones either. Even today, I'm like, they didn't need to do this.
Yeah, so, I don't understand most of them.
Straight up. But even though Halo Reach is a phenomenal game, with possibly the best ending I've played in a video game, at the time, I was kind of sour on it. As I replayed it this last year, I loved it. It's amazing. So that's no longer my answer. My final answer kind of has to be the same answer as my favorite game. Halo 5 is probably my least favorite Halo, while at the same time being my most favorite or most fun Halo. Mostly because I noticed something when I played Halo 5 initially in 2015. I played the campaign, I had a good time, but that was it. I didn't play the game even a single time again, and I never felt compelled to. Similar to, say, Jesse with ODST. But then when I played the game again with friends, it was amazing. Yeah, but Halo 5 Solo is... honestly, it's fun, I guess, but as he said, it's like an 8 out of 10 Halo game, which is not as good.
All right, good answer. How about you, Mike?
I'd have to say Halo 3. God, that game sucks.
If that's the way I sound, then I sound like Hank Hill. Honestly, I'm going to cheat and say that it's a tie between Halo 4 and Halo 5 for different reasons.
I mean, you can just say 3 for 3.
Well, yeah, I mean, they're good. They're good games. Here's the thing. Halo 4, my major issues with Halo 4 was, one, in all the previous Halos, you were able to drop your weapon, pick up another weapon, use it, do anything like that. Whereas Halo 4, if you drop a weapon, there's a good chance by the end of that firefight, that weapon fucking disappeared.
Oh, yeah.
And that drove me
the technical limitation on that is not fun. I wish they had fixed that in MCC.
Yeah, it's because they used more memory for resolution instead of for gameplay. Like, that all takes up memory. I can go on, but that pissed me off. Plus, it also pissed me off that you needed, like Jesse kind of like talked about, you almost needed to dive into the expanded fiction to really get the most out of Halo 4 story. I didn't like that. When I first played through Halo 4, a lot of the stuff, I mean, it made sense, but barely. And I didn't really appreciate it. It was only whenever I went through a video synopsis of the Forerunner trilogy that I was able to better appreciate Halo 4's story.
And they even had it in the games. There were terminals in the games that should have been, in my opinion, cutscenes for everyone to see. Because they kind of go
exactly
over.
it.
Good.
Yeah, so that is not good storytelling. But then you have Halo 5, where you have Locke that is going toe-to-toe with Master Chief. I don't fucking think so. Like, come on, really? And then, then you have the poor way that
They didn't go toe to toe. They were more like belly to belly. They were like sumo wrestlers out there. But yeah, keep going.
But you have Team Osiris that's introduced poorly. You have Blue Team that's introduced poorly. I mean, and then you have Halo 5's campaign isn't horrible, but there are the issues where you trade, and we've talked about this in our Halo 5 gameplay stream, where they trade intelligent AI for just dumb AI, just throwing everything at you. And then how many times do we have to fight the
Warden Eternal? I think around 4 total.
Thank you. I thought it was 7.
It's like 7.
People think it's a lot. Wait, okay, if you count all 3 at the end as 3, sure. But that's one encounter.
Well, yeah, but that to me is not good game design. So,
Yeah,
I mean, I equally so. Granted, so probably see, like, the story in Halo 4 is better if you understand the expanded fiction. The story in Halo 5 is just categorically worse overall. 100%. But then you have the multiplayer that's worse in 4 and the multiplayer that's better in 5. So if Halo 4 expanded and explained the story better, didn't completely break the sandbox by having weapons disappear, and had the multiplayer of Halo 5, it'd be an amazing Halo game. But as it stands, both Halo 4 and Halo 5 to me equally are the worst Halos for different reasons.
Yeah, I think I'm going to have to go with the 4. And again, this is, I said I'm not as much of, I know I said I'm not as much of a story person, but maybe I can take that back a little bit, because I remember the first time with CE, they didn't spend a lot of time on story, but that was like perfect for me. They built up mystery, and it almost it enticed you, right? It enticed you to go find out more, and hey, like what's going on
in the expanded universe, which you guys keep saying is bad for 4. You need it. You go back 1, 2, 3 without any of that expanded universe. It's so bare bones.
No, but Halo 1
stood alone too.
But Halo 1 still covered enough.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Still got everything that you needed out of the story in Halo 1.
It's still self-contained, right?
Yeah.
I had no clue what was going on. But it really stands out to me more, though, in 4, more than that. You already mentioned it, Mike. It was, that example of the disappearing weapon. They sacrificed gameplay for graphics, is what I felt. You had the Prometheans that disappeared, right, so that they didn't stay on the screen, so you had more resolution. And so right now, I've been going through all the Halos again, and I'm up to 4. On Legendary, and some of the scenes, especially you look at it in 4K, I'm like, wow, this looks like a nice current gen game. It's like, how did they do this on 360? Yeah. It really is visually stunning, but it's wrong for
it's at the cost of other things.
Yeah, and actually, I'd say the first couple of levels were actually were pretty fun when you're fighting the Covenant. As soon as you start robot dogs come out, it's like the thing drops off a cliff for me, and it's just the disappearing bullet sponge, Prometheans, the disappearing weapons. It was just like smaller environments. Even when you're outside, everything's like a corridor. It's just you got really nice backdrops and everything. It looks stunning.
Just quickly touch on what you're talking about, Halo CE being one of the best Halos. I remember playing Halo CE and going back like 3 firefights to pick up ammo for rocket launchers. I mean, the fact that the weapons just stayed in Halo CE and also Halo 2, Halo 3. I mean, it wasn't until Halo 4 that whole sandbox paradigm of weapons being readily available just completely broke.
Yeah, your weapons, it was, because remember at the time, that was back in the day where enemies just disappeared, right? Like on the PS2, everything disappeared. And then, the Halo launched on the OG, and it's like, whoa, what's going on here? You bullet holes would stay in the wall. They didn't go away, at least not for a while. And weapons, you could run all the way back to the very beginning of a level and go grab your rockets because you needed them, or, grab a plasma pistol or something because you made the wrong choice. And those types of sandbox moments were not in 4. 4 is like, this is the weapon you need to be holding in this section because they work the best against these enemies. You're in a narrow corridor. There's really not a lot of different ways to kind of play through each section. So, I always like to tie this stuff into like 5 because it's like we talk about our least and most favorite things in Halo. I really hope. Well, first of all, I hope the Prometheans die pretty quickly, altogether in Infinite. And aside from that, the thing that's really excited me about what they're showing, and I know it's taking a lot of heat right now, but it's just great to see the focus is really more on showing off the sandbox and things because I think that's what makes it hold up. And I don't want to go too much longer. But let me just see it because I brought that up in terms of like how it ties into Infinite. Is there anything about your least favorite Halo that you don't want to tie into the next game?
This kind of goes to your point, but I think the things I didn't like about Halo 4 and 5, I just didn't think the sandbox was very good. I didn't think the level design was very good. You could argue that, but that's just my opinion. I think the thing about basically everything we've seen from Infinite feels like they looked at what people complained about with Halo 4 and 5 and fixed it. Like there's no like you remember in Halo 4 when you'd press a button, it would like go into like a 5-second cutscene of the Master Chief pressing a button.
Yeah.
They took that out.
1 second.
Oh, it was like 4 seconds.
Yeah, but they
3.5.
Yeah, 3.5 seconds.
We'll go ahead and time it.
Yeah, they showed. You remember the Halo Infinite when he went up the elevator? Like he quickly pressed it. There was no like, what are they called? Quick time event type.
It was the same as like CE, or you just press a button and it activates.
It's having an animation where you actually go into that.
Yeah.
No animation, it just goes.
Yeah, those things like they don't like if you tell someone like they think you're crazy for thinking that's a big deal, but like Halo fans are obviously very picky. There's just some specific things that Halo does they've always done that I think they need to kind of stay the same. So that's why when you see Infinite, it looks like they're kind of moving away from some of the decisions they made in Halo 4 and 5 that some people didn't like. So I think that's good.
Yeah, in Halo 4, they went over how they were too corridory with the vehicle sections.
Yep.
And they fixed that in 5. 5 is not corridory. There's more you can do in it. And they're expanding upon that with Infinite in what appears to be a really well thought out way in the one section we've seen. But like the way the maps are, it seems more conducive to there's quite a lot of open areas. You go into certain parts and camps and stuff that are going to be a little more lead you in a direction with a waypoint. But yeah, there is so much more to the that sandbox nature being the focus again.
Yeah. All right. I think that was great points both ways, things that we can look out for as we kind of learn more about Halo Infinite, see if they continue to catch the things that we love most about the franchise, and hopefully eliminate some of the things that made it go in the other direction. But we're running pretty long here, so we're going to go through some community questions. So what I'm going to ask as I ask some of these questions, because we got a bunch of them here and we don't got a lot of time, that maybe we just a couple people respond at most to each of them. So as I read through them, feel free if it's something you're passionate about answering, go ahead. and pipe in there. So, first question is
All right, I'll take this one.
from Andrew. He just wants to stop. What is your hopes and dreams for the plot of Halo Infinite, and when do you think we will see it again?
Ooh, hey, Mike, can I speak for you on this one?
You could always
We
speak.
want it. We want it to be good. That's
Amen.
about it. As far as actual plot points and all
Who
that.
said that question, by the way? Did you say who
Yeah,
asked
it was
that question?
Andrew Schmidt. Yep.
Okay.
Well, Andrew, we want a good story that is obviously not chopped apart and put back together in some weird Frankenstein like Halo 5. Something that has a coherent beginning, middle, and end. That's well written, not cheesy, and, as I said, good. And as far as when we think we'll see it, we all think it would be before the end of fiscal year 2021, which is next July.
To be a little more specific with an answer, I agree with all that too.
Thank you,
Don't
Saul.
get me wrong. But to put it in simple terms, I want Halo Infinite to have everything. By that, I mean I wanted to have Covenant. I wanted to
Wow.
have the Flood. I wanted to have Prometheans.
A lot of Prometheans.
And I wanted to
non-stop
have
Prometheans.
the Banished. I want so many enemy types that you're never tired. You know what I mean?
I want to kill humans.
Yes.
Whoa.
Whoa, wait. Infected.
Insurrection.
Infected.
And in the game, too.
Actually, yeah, Insurrectionists would be great. I don't think they'd ever be on a
Yeah.
Halo, but
Now,
Yeah,
wait.
get the Antifa that's fighting the...
Oh God.
oh, never mind.
One thing that hopefully having 4 parties in Infinite will provide is AI versus AI scenario.
Yeah,
oh yeah,
Doom
that'd be
style.
super cool.
Yes.
Like
Yeah.
that's something that we didn't really see much in all of the Halo games, other than Halo 1 and I think some of Halo 4.
A little at the start of Halo 5, before they're all working together.
Yeah.
I think they
Yep,
can fight.
yep.
They
Now
do
that's
fight each
that's
other.
more gameplay than story though. But yeah, I do agree though. That is something that we didn't cover in the previous stuff. That is the fun stuff, is you get to watch them battle it out. Like, whose side should I jump on this time and try to get through this checkpoint?
And not to
Um,
blindly defend 343, but as I touched in my love for Halo 3, you know, Bungie's Halo stories weren't always bulletproof.
Yep.
Like
No, they weren't.
Halo 1 was bare bones, but for the better.
Yeah.
Halo 2 was absolutely amazing, that expanded the universe in some much needed ways. But Halo 3, as much as I love Halo 3, had some glaring
Yep.
holes in
I had to
in
play
the
that
story.
game like 4 times to really understand what the heck was going on at one point.
And it was pretty basic. It was
It
like
got
a
messy.
straight
Yeah.
I mean,
line
it was
story.
basic, but like, how the hell would Cortana know that Gravemind would go to the Ark? Like, you know, like there's some really glaring plot holes in Halo 3 that just to this day drive me insane. But obviously, I still love the game.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, I'm going to just say more specifically. Like I said before, I like the mystery in the first one, and it was more personal. And I think that is what I'm looking forward to again. I want it to make me want to know more. And I think that
Yes.
the ones that came after that just kind of threw so much at you that it's like it killed that desire to really try to fish, for me at least. And so I think this is what they've shown so far is really cool, because it does, based on what I understand about this Zeta Hill or whatever, there's a lot of mystery and things that you can uncover, and that's going to be pretty cool. I hope that they take their time to exploit. But we should move on. I'm going to go to Adam, the Xboxer. Do you think we'll be granted access to the multiplayer beta before release?
No.
yes.
No.
Why?
Well,
Why
you would've
yes, why
split
no?
it like this. So what I think, if they were going to have the multiplayer before or on the day of release, they would have announced that by now.
No, I
they
think
would
they
have
mean
shouted.
release as in release of the game.
Oh, I thought he
The
meant
beta.
release.
Yeah, so like, because the last Halo 5, they put a beta out almost a whole year before, right? And they said they were going to continue to do that. The plans changed due to the fact.
Release of the game or release of the system? Because I took it as release of the system. Of course, I would hope that the multiplayer is released for the game.
I took it before the release of the game.
Yeah, I took it before the release of the game. I took it release of the system. And if they're going to have if they're going to have Halo released at the system launch or around there, they would have shouted that from the rooftops. I mean, one possibility maybe is, they're going to, let's say maybe Video Game Awards, they have a multiplayer trailer, and then they shadow drop the multiplayer beta that night.
I could see that.
That would be amazing.
That's what I was. I think they're going to, because the Game Awards were so successful for them last year. I think they're going to save some surprises this year for that, just to try to. They usually like to try to go back to things that work, so that makes sense. I do think they're going to have a beta before the full game releases, and I know they were maybe not going to have that flooding because of they're running close when they were going to release it this year. But I think now they have an opportunity. I think we've all heard that the multiplayer is ahead of the single player, so it just makes sense that we would see it. But does anybody else disagree with that? You all think we're going to at least see it before the game?
You mean see the game before it releases?
He means a playable beta before the game releases.
Yeah, a multiplayer beta before the release of the game.
I have my doubts because I feel like they just kind of want to get the game out at this point. Like, I don't know if they're going to take the extra time to make a beta, but if they're able to, I think they'd like to do it just to get feedback. But like, I don't know how much extra resources or time they have to do that.
Yeah, I do think they will, just because you don't have to put out the full game, and just even if you put out 3 levels.
I mean, what was Halo 5's beta? That was
like 2 levels.
I think
it was like 2 levels, right?
Yeah, it was Breakout, and it was there was 2 levels from the arena. There was the
I mean, when you think about it, you only have to have a few 2 or 3 levels. Plus, unless I'm mistaken, Halo Infinite's multiplayer was already leaked. Not actual gameplay or anything, but screenshots of it. Yeah.
So, I think they're going to do it. I think that they probably have enough material to do it. It would be something. I think it would get people hyped up around the launch.
I do think if it would not be what they do first, they need a better showing for the campaign first, because a multiplayer beta, ahead of time, it is again going to be an early build, not optimized, not as good looking as final. That's just where they always are, unless they're like a week before release. But even then, the Avengers one was literally 1 month before release, and it was hot dog poop compared to the release a month later. So it gave a really bad impression. The reason I say no is because unless they really polish something up to look really nice, they know how people are going to take an early build's graphics.
Yeah,
that makes sense.
Yeah, I think.
I mean, if it impresses, though, I think it's worth throwing out there.
I think you can impress people with a single player trailer, and then say, "Hey, here's a rough beta," and just foreshadow the fact the graphics are not done in this or whatever it is. So, but we know that if it weren't for betas with Halo, we would have never got a Crackdown 3. So of course, So we know that there's a lot of hype that comes around that, and it can drive a lot of sales just because it's a beta for Halo fans. But we'll move on to our next question, and this one's from Hassan Big Z. Hi all, I want to once again congratulate you all on the new podcast. He said, my question is, if you could make a Halo spin-off, what type of game would you make, and where and when in the Halo universe would you place it?
I have, and I've actually thought about this for a while, mostly because spin-offs are great. But long story short, I'd like it to be a full-on RPG, Mass Effect style, set in the Forerunner era. I'm not sure how much you guys know about Forerunners or what 343 did with the Forerunners. But they already kind of have like their class system built into the stories. They have like builders and miners and warriors, life workers, etc. It feels like it lends itself perfectly to an RPG, a full-on RPG.
I actually want to buy your game. That was pretty good.
Give me about $2 billion.
Anybody else got a better pitch than that?
So I pitched this a while ago on Twitter, and I got some feedback. Now, I'm not big. I've never been big on battle royale being forced in the Halo, but if they were to do a battle royale mode for the free multiplayer, I think that it should be strictly ODST, and I think it would be awesome if you used ODST drop pods to drop into the field, and then the ring that you typically see in a firefight mode is a ring of Halo spores. And this ring just continuously gets smaller and smaller. And anyone that's played a firefight game, or I'm sorry,
VR.
a battle royale game, if you die in the red zone, the blue zone, or in Halo's case, the spore zone, you come back as a AI flood. So at the end of, and then all the while, so if you played PUBG, there are red zones that randomly appear, and that's where they drop like mortar fire. In the campaign, or I'm sorry, not in the campaign, in the map, you randomly have not Covenant. I'm sorry. What's the what's in Halo Infinite?
The Banished.
The Banished. Thank you. You randomly have Banished drop ships that just drop AI, and that forces you kind of out of your safe zone where you have to fight the Banished, and that potentially gives you that you give yourself up. Plus, with you being an ODST, you don't have a shield. You have to rely on things that you find out on the field, and then at the end, once the circle gets so small, they stop dropping Banished because, they're pulling out because of the flood infection. And then the final last team or final last ODST, if you're playing solo, you set off a nuke. And that's your chicken dinner, in a sense.
Yeah, actually.
So I think that's very detailed. I think I think you got the deal on Shark Tank.
I put a lot of thought behind it if it's not clear.
I've got a short and sweet one if you want it.
Oh, yeah, go ahead, Jesse.
Okay, so, I mean, you have a gravity hammer, you have a team of brutes, and you play baseball, and the ball is a grunt's head.
Great.
Oh, that's great.
I mean, the field is going to have to be like 3 miles long because of the gravity hammer, but I think it works.
My answer's so boring. I'm going to just skip it. Does anybody else got anything else before we go to the next question?
No. Now I'm intrigued.
Well, I was just thinking, again, this is kind of a boring answer.
Halo dating sim.
Oh, yeah. No, I mean, I think the cool thing about the spin-offs and like the 10-year thing, again, is this is where maybe you could satisfy both bases. And I really like that first idea where you kind of go back into history, right? Like you can start to fill in some of the gaps in the stories. There's been a lot of holes for people who haven't read the books. So maybe, some of these things based on the books that haven't not been in the games. And I like, so like what you were talking about, that idea. And I think you can even kind of mix that up. And now you can, maybe this is where you throw in the spark powers or something for people who like the Halo 5 versus, more of the traditional. And this could be a way to kind of go back and forth.
So basically,
so maybe that's...
You're saying F reading, yeah. I want to play it.
Yeah, I want to play it. It's got time
makes
for
sense.
that
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, so that's me. Anybody else before we go to the next question?
Yeah,
Yep.
Go on.
Sorry
Hello.
about that. If they could make some kind of survival horror type Halo. The thing I like about ODST a lot is you kind of feel like you're like a lone soldier kind of navigating through a city. If they could imagine if they made imagine Bloodborne or something mixed with Halo where it's pretty hard, where it's not just like you're one-shotting grunts, like it's like you're actually having to get good at the combat. I think that'd be pretty interesting.
And the flood really could lend itself to a good horror Halo game. I mean, you think about it, the Flood is kind of a way like The Thing.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
they've got
Yep.
Tango Gameworks now.
Yeah.
Oh God,
You
that'd
make
be
like
amazing.
a you can make it like Blood Starship Troopers, right? Where they're just coming at you. No. All right, so no, some good ideas. Let's move on to our next question, Mr. Cavish Hill. He had a few of them, so we're going to go through some of these. What are the odds of Marty scoring some Halo tracks for Infinite now that the game is delayed and his old best buddy Joe is in charge of the campaign? What do you guys think?
Zero.
None.
Point
Zero.
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 I never
They've
say
got-
zero, so
Negative
1%.
They've got a lead composer, and he's got two other composers working with him. I imagine that soundtrack is or has been done for a long time.
Maybe
not
though
only that-
over the 10 years though, maybe a track or two. I wouldn't be
Yeah,
surprised.
maybe over the 10 years. Here's the thing. I don't know what it might have been because Marty was previously working at Activision, but in an interview, Marty revealed that during the development of both Halo 1 remaster and Halo 2 remaster, Microsoft made sure to tell the composers of those remasters not to contact or work with or consult Marty O'Donnell.
Yeah.
And it might have been because during the time of those the development of those two remasters, Marty was at Activision or at Bungie that had a contract with Activision, so there might have been some conflict of interest or some, they might have had to make a pseudo contract just to be able to, like, there's a lot of legalities or when it comes to the labor laws and whatnot. But as of right now, I'm with everyone that it's no.
I think it'd be great if he gets a cameo. That'd be pretty cool. But
yeah.
like to what you guys are all saying, they got the guy from Ori who I think did the best track.
Gareth
Coker.
Amazing.
Coker.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, that guy
Human Curtis
is
Javaitsa.
honestly, like, Marty is my favorite, and part of that's probably nostalgia. But if I had to pick anybody that's come close in the last 20 years, it would be Gareth from the Ori stuff. So
Yes.
so I really don't think they need Marty, but it would be nice. It'd be nice. They already got so many of the classic guys helping out. It'd be kind of cool if he did get a little cameo, a song.
With how much he comments on just the Halo trailers and stuff, it seems like he's open to it, especially since he left Bungie.
Yeah, I think honestly he would love to go back. It just they don't seem to want him to come back. So
yeah. It seems like
we never
he's,
know the
part of
background,
the-
what happened. It's tough.
Yeah.
You can say I really love the guy, but if they don't want him back, there's probably stuff happened that we'll never know about until some tell-all
I think it's
book
all
in the
just
future.
contractual stuff because from what I understand, the departure between Bungie and Microsoft was pretty friendly or professional. I think it's just all contractual. Like they just don't want to probably pay him what he's probably asking. What he?
Oh, I don't think money is an issue right now. I don't know if you noticed that Microsoft's going to spend a little bit. I think if they could afford Bethesda, they could afford Mario. But we'll move on to the next question. And I think we already answered this one. Thoughts on the potential of a Halo Infinite multiplayer beta for X launch? I think
None.
we all
Zero.
I think around the launch would be nice, but
if it was
bring a lot of hype.
Christmas maybe.
If it was
not launch.
I'm not going to rule it out. I
if
think
it was
there's a
even
chance.
within the launch window, if it was before, let's put it this way, if it was before the Tokyo Game Show or the Video Game Awards. So if it was before, if it was within November, we would know about it by now.
I don't know. I just feel like they knew they had the Bethesda thing to drop, and I think they might save another surprise before launch. So I'm not going to rule it out. So
Well, every
we'll move on to
darned Microsoft insider in the world, like Tom Warren, keeps intimating, and there's more. So who knows?
Yeah, I think
True.
there's some surprise, and like I said, this could be an easy if they can get out a few screens of a campaign that looks decent, and Resting Brute Face is got his makeup on, and then I do think they might be able to throw it out there even if it's not pretty. So. But we'll go to his next question. Halo has a lot of story beats for its universe landing outside the games themselves. Is that a good or bad thing in your eyes? I think that's actually something we've touched on a lot. I don't care for it, but Jesse, you do. Any other thoughts on that? That we
If they
haven't
were,
talked
if,
about?
Sorry, I was gonna add real quick. I think, uh, as long as the story in the games takes front and center, then it's fine. I think the problem with a game like Halo 4 is it felt like the story was all in the books and in the terminals, while the story and the campaign like didn't make sense unless you understood those.
Yeah.
yeah, and that's exactly where I'm coming from. Where I think the way that Bungie handled it with the books and Halo 1, 2, and 3 was perfect. You didn't really
Right.
need to know what happened between Halo 2 and Halo 3. But if you read the books, you could, or Halo 1 and Halo 2.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then, we already know with Infinite, they have a book that's leading up to Halo Infinite.
Well, that was supposed to come out, I think,
Now,
this month, wasn't
I think so.
it's-
I think it's supposed to come out before
late
the end of the year.
October.
it? Yeah, late October. Okay.
So I'm going to hold judgment to see how well in game they bridge between Halo 5 and Infinite. If they do it well enough that the books aren't required, like for me
Like CE?
it's
Yeah.
for me it's is it required or does it just add on to it? I was able to play Halo 1, 2 and 3 and
Yeah.
enjoy and completely understand this entire story arc without being required to read the books. But the moment you're required to read the books, like Halo 4, to truly understand the scope and appreciate the story, that's where you lose me.
Yeah. No, I think
Having-
that's a good. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, having just replayed it after listening to the Forerunner trilogy, the main motivation for the Didact and why he hates humanity isn't made clear in like the campaign. I think you can follow everything. You just don't know why he's so upset. That's the only why he doesn't like or trust humanity. That was the main thing they missed. As far as the
Well,
other
yeah.
points, but I mean, if you're paying attention, like I didn't watch a single terminal while I was playing through. I just went through and played it, and I was trying to focus. Like, okay, can I get this story without knowing the whole motivation behind why the Didact hates humanity and all that stuff? And I think yes, it comes through decently. It's not perfect.
It's just much
and
better with the
Yeah,
That's for sure. People
Yeah.
call it
but
Didact.
I found that to be the case with most of the other ones too. Like they didn't have their main motivation hidden. That's the one thing that hurt 4. Why is the Didact so set on wiping out humanity? And not having answered that's what really set it off for people.
I feel like the answer to this question is just both. You know what I mean? Like it's both good and bad. It can be good, it can be bad. It just depends how they interpret do it.
Well, I mean, with Halo 4, they talked about how the Knights were humans, but you didn't know that they were humans that were previously eaten up or whatever, processed by the composer. Yeah. And you eventually learn that in the game, but you don't truly here's the thing with Halo 4's story, at least for me. You don't appreciate the depth of the story until you know the Forerunner trilogy. Yeah. You're still able to appreciate the gravity of the conflict and the story in the original Halo trilogy without reading the books. It's the whole appreciation of what is being presented to you in the games. And the way that Bungie handled it was it added on to the original story arc. Whereas the way that 343 is handling it, it's almost required for you to appreciate it. I could be wrong. I could be in the minority, but
yeah, I think those are. I'm kind of along the same lines here. If it's something that it adds something for people who can't get enough, and there's some more backstory, but it's not something that you need in order to enjoy what's going on. I think we talked about it earlier. 4 and 5 just kind of. I didn't care because there's just so much going on. It didn't make any sense. But I will have to check out some of that stuff before the next game because maybe that'll make it better. One of the next questions was what sort of RPG-ish element would you want in future Halo games?
Oh, I know. I want
Very
the
little.
enemies to have levels, and I have to grind up to get. No, I'm kidding. I don't want that.
I'm a Soul Blazer, very little.
RPG elements are
Yeah,
scary.
I think what makes the sandbox work is that you aren't having to level up. But I think you could probably make it something where, I don't know, not necessarily RPG-ish, but more Metro Prime-ish.
The equipment
maybe,
only focus that it looks
Yeah.
like it is in Infinite, I think, is a good middle ground. You get
Yeah.
equipment, you get new equipment, that a little Metroidvania to get to different parts of an area when you're going back, and I can make it a little better. That type of stuff. Not I've got to keep grinding and keep grinding and keep
Or like
grinding.
level up and get a new ability. No. That's
If
not
you're going to be
Halo.
doing leveling up and grinding in a separate co-op mode, but for the campaign itself, limited to new abilities that open things up a little more, give you more options in the sandbox, and then you can power those up a little bit, and that's it.
And I don't need like a helmet with 30 armor and then replace it with a helmet with 35 armor. Like that's not Halo to me.
Well,
Yeah.
I think, to something we said earlier, with the spin-off stuff, or like over the 10 years, they had a little side thing that doesn't interfere with the campaign that's RPG-ish.
Oh, yeah, that'd be cool.
A little grindy.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be cool. Like something maybe you even reuse some of the levels from the campaign or whatever. But maybe you start off as a ODST and you just kind of grind away and I don't know, do some stuff that way. But in terms of the actual core campaign, the foundation of the game, I don't want any stat building at all. So that's my
separating the campaign from the continual part of everything and the multiplayer is where Destiny has always had issues. Halo, if you're going to have more stuff, more modes, co-op modes, PvP modes, keep them separate like you always have, and I think it'll be a lot better.
Yep, cool. All right, so we're going to go on to, we've got just two more people to answer questions from. We have Mort, and he says, I think this is yours, Jesse. He says, which of the books would you recommend for somebody to start with who's not really familiar with all the lore?
Now, starting with you go with, the beginning books that were written, Fall of Reach. You work your way through them. There are lists out there of ones that would be seen as essential versus ancillary. None of them I wouldn't say any of them are bad. Some of them can be a little boring. But yeah, the beginning stuff, Fall of Reach, is where you want to start so that you can get up to the Forerunner trilogy, which is my favorite.
That's my
easy definitely answer. For starting, Fall of Reach. Then never play Halo Reach because then you get angry at Halo Reach because it changed so much for no reason.
Just make some changes in But yeah,
so,
pretty much whenever anyone brings up the fact they've never played Halo and they're interested in playing, the first thing I ask them, I'm like, do you read? I need to ask that because, people don't read anymore. They're adults.
Half the world can't read.
Yeah, that too. And if they say yes, or even if they don't, I tell them just read Fall of Reach. Just grab this one book, take it from a library, buy it for $5, whatever. Just read this one book.
Don't rent it or borrow it from a library. Just take it. Go in there, knock out any librarians you have to. Get that goddamn book.
Read the book, play the first game, and that should be enough to hook you.
Why are you devaluing books like that? Okay, no, I think that's a great start. Any other books that people would recommend?
I was gonna say, if you're lazy like me, you can go on YouTube and watch a 30-minute video.
I agree
from one of the kids on the podcast.
I agree with Jesse that you should definitely start with Fall of Reach. If you already read Fall of Reach and you're looking for something else, Contact Harvest is another excellent story.
All right, awesome. All right, I'm going to go to Nerd Propellant question, and he asked this one on Twitter. First question is, how do you guys feel about having a world map in Halo Infinite?
I like it. Good.
No problems. I mean, we'll have to see how it ends up being used. No initial, whoa, this is wrong, or hey, this is really cool.
Yeah, what they've shown so far has been fine, as long as it's not a...
Ubisoft?
Yes, thank you. That's exactly where I was going to go. As long as it's
I
not
want
like
Halo to have the Unity map from Assassin's Creed Unity. Give me
That's the thing.
17,000 icons
As long
all
as
on
it's
top
not
of
just
each
a
other.
mess of icons where just no. What they've shown so far was perfect because it shows you what you need to do, where you need to go, and some possible side objectives.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with you guys. I have map fatigue. Every time I turn on a Ubisoft game because it looks cool when somebody's playing it, I open up the map and I get very tired and I turn it off. So I do hope that they keep it very simple. Don't highlight everything that might be interesting. Give me maybe a couple. If somebody wants to just fly through the core campaign, give me that. Don't give me anything else, right? Like, let me look around if I want to.
Like, have it make sense within context of the campaign. That's one of the big issues when it comes to Ubisoft games. Like, they give you a mess of things to do where it doesn't make sense.
Yep.
It's all just filler.
And story-wise,
bullshit.
you're like, someone's about to die. Go save them right now. Don't do anything else. And you spend 30 hours doing other things.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was gonna say, one of the things that's always been cool about Halo is it's pretty simple. I'm hoping that because the map they showed only had 3 objectives on the map. I'm hoping it's pretty bare bones. I'm hoping we don't go later into the game, but there's 25 question marks and 3 towers to go climb. I'm hoping they don't go down that route.
Yeah, that's been always one of the strengths with Halo is that it's focused.
Yep. Yeah, and it needs to stay.
Lose that focus.
No, and that's I'm glad it's not a true open world. I don't want that. I don't want to be running. I don't think any of us wanted to spend our time running across open terrain. Well, I guess I'm speaking it for everybody, like Mike usually does. But for myself, I don't want to be. I don't think I know anybody that wants that. No, I'm kidding. I know for myself, I don't want to be running across open terrain. That's just I don't mind it at parts. That's part of the charm of Halo. Sometimes is to have some of those serene moments so you can kind of take in the scenery and look around and things like that. But too much of it, if it just ends up being to the point now where you're just riding from one place to another, trying to follow a marker, that gets tedious. So, but yeah, we're running really, really late on this. We got one last question. It says, do you think there's a multiplayer revealed before the XS launch? I think we kind of touched on this a few times. I think
we've answered it twice already.
I think it's the third time.
Yeah. I say yes. All right, so
be more imaginative, listeners. My goodness.
or at least get the psychic ability to know what other people are asking us. Jeez.
So obviously that is a hot topic. So we'll have to keep that in mind.
Yeah.
The multiplayer, the beta. I think people are looking out for that. I think people are hungry for something to get excited about with the game. I want to thank everybody in the community who sent us questions. Really good questions. But I think we need to wrap up the show. And before we do, just wanted to give a shout out to let everybody know that to come visit us and chat with us on XboxEra forums. We attempt to eliminate trolling there, try to keep it good discussion going on about people who celebrate gaming. So come there to talk about Halo, Bethesda buyout, anything else. Also,
no console warring.
No console warring. We don't allow it either way. And then finally, just want to give a shout out to the Patreon. Check that out. You'll have the link there on the site as well. Feel free to support us. Does anybody else have anything else?
Hi, Proven.
Hi, Proven. All right.
Oh, he's back.
So with that, I'm going to just kind of go back around. And does anybody else have anything to kind of conclude? Any thoughts, anything before we go?
No, I love talking about Halo with you guys, and I love every single listener that is willing to give us their time. You guys are awesome.
Yeah, honestly.
Oh, yeah, well, I hate talking Halo with you guys, and I hate all of our listeners.
But yeah,
And,
for you guys listening, if you have any kind of questions, concerns, if you like the way we do some things, if you don't like the way we do some things, especially if you don't like the way we do some things, let us know. Anywhere, on YouTube, on the forums, on Twitter.
Yell it at your neighbor.
Off of that too. We'll probably hear. We thrive off of your feedback.
Absolutely, and I think we had some really good questions this week.
Yeah.
We'll talk about this, but maybe we need to like lead a little bit earlier. I think so. You mentioned that, and I think that might be a good idea to spend some time on what the community is really interested in, and so we'll kind of take that back. But hopefully they keep on coming. Appreciate everybody's time. If you sat through this full 2 hours of a hour and a half podcast, really appreciate the extra time. With that, I think I'm going to go ahead and sign off. Everybody have a great day.
Thank you for watching.
Bye.
Later, guys.